as the Jacksonville Jaguars look to their Week 3 matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers. As I was digging through this game, I saw a lot of great matchups heading into it, a lot of great individual matchups, and then also kind of just unit versus unit matchups as we go forward. I'm going to be breaking them all down right here. And number one being Rayshawn Slater versus Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. Rayshawn Slater is one of the best young tackles in the league, and he's one of the best overall tackles in the National Football League in only his second year. Slater was so good in 2021, his rookie year, that he was named to the second team AP All-Pro team as a rookie. He was deemed to be one of the top 4 tackles in the National Football League as a rookie, and he's only getting better. Now, I say all that to say Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker will absolutely be pushing that sled uphill when they are on his side of the field. He is their left tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, a thing that could work out to Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker's benefit is their ability to kind of sniff out the play, recognize the play. Trayvon Walker showed us he has that ability in Week 1 against the Commanders when he recognized the screenplay developing, lunges out, grabs that interception. I really do think that could absolutely be a benefit to what the Los Angeles Chargers are going to try to do with Austin Eckler. Use him in the screen game. Eckler's a guy that scored 20 touchdowns just a year ago. You're looking at somebody that has huge playmaking potential in Austin Eckler, and when they're going to try to use him the best of their ability. Now, to be able to do that, they're going to be using Rayshawn Slater to block whoever is on his side. Now, there are plays to be made in the NFL. Sometimes the talent just needs to be there. Like I talked about with Trayvon Walker being able to diagnose that interception, same thing happened. And then obviously Josh Allen has multiple sacks. He has a forced fumble. And then Trayvon Walker is just being an incredible pass rushing, run stuffing threat that he is thus far. I do think this is one of the marquee matchups of this game. Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen versus second year All-Pro Rayshawn Slater of the Los Angeles Chargers. It is going to be a fun one for sure. Now, for this Week 3 matchup against the Chargers, I was really playing with this one. I thought this one could be the best matchup of the week, and I might still give it the edge. I might. Bryce Callahan is the Chargers nickel corner, and he is going to be covering the slot man and Christian Kirk, who has taken, I believe, 80% of his snaps thus far in a Jaguars jersey out of the slot. Now, Christian Kirk is somebody that is, top 5, top 10 in most statistical categories you could want from your wide receiver. Christian Kirk is quickly defining himself and solidifying himself as one of the best slot receivers in the National Football League, but he has a very tough matchup ahead of him. Bryce Callahan is someone that has made a ton of noise recently for the Los Angeles Chargers, but he's never been a big noise kind of guy. He's always just been a very good, consistent nickel corner. Callahan has spent time with the Bears, Broncos, and now he is in his first season in a Chargers uniform that makes a completely loaded secondary. Like I said, Christian Kirk has been 80% of his routes run from the slot, and he's been very, very successful. 12 of 16 pass attempts, almost 200 yards. He has over a 100-yard lead on second place for the Jaguars in receiving right now, and he has 2 scores through 2 weeks. But like I talked about, Bryce Callahan has been very, very good, and he's been very, very stingy. Bryce Callahan has allowed 3 catches on 8 targets for a whopping 21 yards, no scores. But here's the big kicker for Bryce Callahan, right? He has allowed a passer rating of 6.3 through his 2 games. That's just an absolutely absurd thing to point out about a nickel corner. Now, just for some context, it's not like he's been playing Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota. It's not like he's been playing, kind of lower tier guys in the National Football League. He went up against Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes in his Week 1 and Week 2 opponents. So he's been facing good talent. And for the fact that he is, 3 of 8 for 21 total yards allowed, that is incredible. It's going to be one of the best matchups as we look towards this Week 3 game against the Chargers. Now, like I talked about with Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen being a great matchup against Rayshawn Slater, the Jaguars have 2 tackles that have been playing arguably the best 2 of the 5 offensive linemen. They're going up against Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack now. Now you're talking about 2 very feared pass rushers in the National Football League, 2 guys that have combined for over 130 sacks in their National Football League careers. I believe Khalil Mack has 80 career sacks, and then Joey Bosa has 59.5. So you're talking about 2 guys that absolutely have game-breaking talent and can absolutely torture a quarterback if they get the opportunity to just pin their ears back and go, go, go. That's enough talk about this Chargers scary pass rush, right? Let's talk about Jawaan Taylor. The Jawaan Taylor Revenge Tour, it's continuing. It's going on to Week 3, and this is a huge statement game for him. Yes, he's had some decent talent that he's gone up against in Week 1 and Week 2, but if Jawaan Taylor can leave this game with a good showing, if he can continue the no-pressure streak, now, whatever fire was lit underneath him, I hope it stays lit, because it is absolutely absolutely having him play his best football in a Jaguars jersey. Cam Robinson played very good in week 2 versus Yannick Ngakoue, much better than he did in week 1 against Montez Sweat. Thankfully, they didn't have Chase Young, but we're looking at this week 3 matchup, and it is a massive litmus test for these Jaguars to see where they're at in terms of how their offensive line is going to play versus almost an entire defensive line that is just stacked with first-round talent. Jerry Tillery, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, so much talent along this defensive front for the Chargers. It is going to be a very good matchup between this Jaguars offensive line and this Chargers pass rush. I talked about this guy a little bit earlier, Austin Eckler versus Devin Lloyd and Foye Oluokun as my third matchup of this game you should be watching. Like I talked about, Austin Eckler is a guy that can absolutely break a game when you look at what he can do in the screen game, what he can do when he gets the ball out of the backfield from Justin Herbert. He is absolutely exciting to watch play when he's not playing the Jaguars, of course. But Devin Lloyd and Foye Oluokun are going to be probably the main two tasked with making sure he stays under control. Obviously, they have the athleticism to go sideline to sideline. We saw that in week 1 with Foye Oluokun making some plays, and obviously Devin Lloyd made some huge impact plays in week 2. As good as Miles Jack was, he struggled with the green dot on his helmet. Foye doesn't. That's a huge benefit. That's a huge plus up for this Jaguars defense. And then Lloyd has settled very well into the defense as well, like I talked about. But Austin Eckler had almost a 1,000-yard receiving season in 2019, and he's going to look to this game to have almost a bounce-back performance. In the first 2 weeks, he's been very, very lackluster. And as a whole, he's probably really going to look to actually finally produce for his team, something that he hasn't truly done, as he's only averaged like 2.7 yards per carry thus far through the season. Now, the main reason I'm very excited for this is because, it is a statement game for the Jaguars offensive line. I do think this is a statement game for this Jaguars defense as a whole. You're talking about a Chargers offense that is absolutely star-studded. You have Justin Herbert, obviously one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Rayshawn Slater on the offensive line. There's a ton of statements to be made, and I really do hope the Jaguars are able to make them or at least compete with them. Now, for my cherry on the top of this one, it is going to be Trevor Lawrence versus this Chargers secondary. Yes, I know that's a very, very broad group, but when you look at them as a whole, there are a little bit of lingering injuries potentially. J.C. Jackson appeared on the injury report for the Chargers this week, who is their number 1 corner. But as a whole, Asante Samuel Jr., Bryce Callahan, like we talked about previously, Derwin James. The list goes on and on and on and on for this Chargers secondary, and it is going to be a huge matchup for the Trevor Lawrence and this Jaguars receiving corps to go up against them. Can Trevor make the good decision? Can he not? Can he manipulate Derwin James with his eyes at all? How can he maneuver this Chargers secondary to get the look he wants from these Jaguars receivers? Like I talked about in my preview video for this game, Trevor Lawrence needs to be able to complete the circle. Doug Peterson's there with the play calling, getting them schemed open. The receivers are getting open and they can catch the ball. Trevor Lawrence needs to make sure he can get them to them accurately. And when you're playing a secondary as talented as this one, it is going to be a very good matchup between Trevor Lawrence and what this secondary is going to try to stop Trevor Lawrence from doing. I'm very, very excited. But hey, drop down in the comments section what matchup you are most excited to see from this week 3 matchup, Jaguars versus Chargers. Let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to have that conversation with you. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe and go Jaguars.
How about them Jags?
Come on, Joe! Ah!